So we'll start the session with a 2 minute break. Yeah. So we'll begin the discussion. Quickly recapping what we have been discussing in the previous classes on this topic. We talked about risk, measurement of risk, volatility, standard deviation with probabilities. We talked about cash flow risk. We talked about project risk. Cash flow risk is the standard deviation of 1 year's cash flow. Project risk is the discounted cash flow risk of all the years. Then we talked about dependent and independent cash flows. We said uh, dependent cash flows are risky compared to independent cash flows. Their standard deviation tends to be more. And how do you calculate the project risk of dependent cash flows and independent cash flow? Dependent cash flow is nothing but the cash flow risk of every year discounted to the present value. That's dependent cash flow. Independent cash flow, there are multiple combinations in which cash flows are there. First year, 3 possible cash flows. Second year, 3 possible cash flows. And third year, 3 possible cash flows. It's 3 by 3 by 3. 27 possible cash flows are there. For that, we need to find out net present value. And then for that, we need to find out the standard deviation. Instead, we said you can find out the cash flow risk of every year, discounted cash flow risk, square it, add it, and then root it. We found out the standard deviation of a project risk where the cash flows are independent. We also talked about Hiller's model of project evaluation, wherein we said when there are multiple projects, then what is the discount rate should be used? That project with a higher risk, higher discount rate will be used. How do you know a project is risky? For that, we need to find out the project risk. And how do you find out project risk? For that, you need to discount the cash flow risk. Again, for that, discount rate is required. To solve this, deadlock situation, we said take RF as a discount rate. Find out the cash flow risk, use RF as a discount rate, and find out the project risk. And with that project risk, assign what is the discount rate that should be used, and based on that discount rate, calculate the net present value to select the project. We said this. And last topic that we discussed is sensitivity analysis. We said a project is based on various variables, and if these variables undergo a change, then the project cash flows will also undergo a change. Sensitivity basically measures what will happen to the net present value for any change in the variable, right? We'll pick one question. Question 15, are we done? Completed? Okay, then fine. Topic 6. Please make a note. Certainty equivalent approach. Certainty equivalent approach. If you remember initial classes, we discussed nominal discount rate, real discount rate, and inflation rate, correct? Can you equate that? We said real discount rate plus inflation rate is equivalent to nominal discount rate. Mathematically speaking, 1 plus nominal discount rate is equivalent to 1 plus real discount rate into 1 plus inflation rate. We also talked about a risk-free rate, risk premium, and risk adjusted discount rate. We said RF plus RP equal to RADR. Otherwise said 1 plus risk adjusted discount rate is equivalent to 1 plus RF into 1 plus RP. We said if cash flows are risky, use the risky discount rate. RADR must be used. If cash flows are risk free, then RF must be used as a discount rate. Now comes a question. In any project, if you have cash flows for the next 5 years, are they risky cash flows or risk free cash flows? They are risky cash flows. Cash flows are all risky every year. In fact, I remember telling you this example. If I say that I can make next year profit 1 crore and I'm 90% confident about it, it can also be interpreted as a 90 lakhs of profit where I can be 100% confident of getting it. So if you have a multiplying factor, that factor is called as a certainty equivalent approach. The 90% in the example that I told you, probability factor is a multiplying factor. If you multiply that probability factor with the cash flows, what you will get is a risk-free cash flow. And the risk-free cash flow must be discounted using the RF. This is the whole story. In all the previous models, you have a risky cash flow and then you tweak the discount rate to find out what is the appropriate discount rate for discounting the cash flow. In this model, you don't tweak the discount rate, rather you tweak the cash flow. Cash flows are converted into RF cash flows, and RF rate will be used for discounting it to the present value. That's called as a certainty equivalent factor. How certain your cash flows are? Please make a note. Discount rates used in the projects. reflects the risk associated with cash flows in the project. Discount rates used in the project reflects the risk associated with the cash flows in the project. If cash flows are risky, use RADR. If cash flows are risk-free, use RF. 1 plus RADR equal to 1 plus RF into 1 plus RP. In CE approach, convert risky future cash flows to risk-free cash flows. Risk-free cash flows is equal to risky cash flow into certainty factor. Certainty factor, you can't calculate certainty factor. Guys, listen. You can't calculate certainty factor. 1 crore is the cash flow that I'm expecting. I'm 90% certain about it. 80% probable. The 80%, 90% that will be given in the question. You need not calculate. That depends on the business. That depends on the company that we are talking about. You need to just multiply the cash flow with the certainty factor to find out what is going to be the certain cash flows. Go. Risk-free cash flow equal to risky cash flow into certainty factor. The same is discounted using RF. We'll pick one question on this. Question 17, page 9. As the question reads, the Globe Manufacturing Company Limited is considering an investment in one of the two mutually exclusive proposals, Project X and Project Y, which requires cash outlay of 3.4 lakhs and 3.3 lakhs respectively. Because there are two projects available, Project X and Y. What is the initial investment? Project X is 3,40,000 and Project Y is 3,30,000. That's the initial investment. The certainty equivalent approach is used in incorporating risk in capital budgeting decisions. The expected net cash flows and their certainty equivalent factors are as follows. Project X and Project Y. Year end 1, 2, 3 cash flows are given. Certainty equivalent factor is also given. 0.8, 0.7, 0.5, 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. Question further says, that, see, first year cash flow on the 1,80,000, correct? That is a risky cash flow. And certainty equivalent factor for Project X is 0.8, which means 1,80,000 into 0.8. That's going to be the certain cash flow. That's how we understand. The current yield on government bond is 8%. That is RF, correct? And this be used as a riskless rate. Firm's cost of capital is 18%. Right? Which discount rate must be used? For which cash flow, which discount rate? I'll put it this way. If you are taking 1,80,000 as a cash flow, then 18% should be the discount rate. If you are taking 1,80,000 into 0.8 as a cash flow, then 8%. The problem with 18% is 18% you cannot use for both the projects because they need not have the same. Your cost of capital is 18%, but the project risk need not be the same between Project X and Y. So you must be using one 18%, one more than 18, or one less than 18. I mean to say one is risky, one is less risky relatively between Project X and Y. That's why we don't use 18%. We use only 8%, and then we convert the cash flows into certain cash flows. Required, which project should be accepted? Second is important. If risk-adjusted discount rate method is used, or if a risky discount rate is used, which project would be analyzed with a higher rate? Project X and Project Y, which is more risky? Can you guess? Sorry? One, okay, no, we have two projects in hand. Which is more risky? That's a question. Given these information. Project X, why would you say that? Their probabilities are less, you understand that. That's the hint. Certainty equivalent factor for Project X is 0.8, 0.7, 0.5, which is less than Project Y, which is 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. So relatively, it is less probable that you will make money out of it. So it is more risky, Project X. So higher discount rate must be used. That's how we are going to control, right? Let's work on this. Calculation of RF cash flows. Here cash flow certainty equivalent factor, certain cash flow, discounting factor at the rate of 8% discounted cash flow. This is for project X, repeating for project Y. Here 1, 2, 3 cash flows are 1,80,000, 2 lakh, 2 lakh. P factor is 0.8, 0.7, 0.5. Certain cash flows What is the initial investment? 3 lakh 40,000. First project, what is the NPV that you get? Minus 7,256, correct? Please repeat this for the second project and then choose which is better. Sorry? Okay. You get 3,32,000. 731. That's it. Round of difference. Any answers for the second project? How much you get? Guys, how much you get here? Second project? 54,000 something. Yeah. This will be selected. Please ignore the rounding off differences that if you get any. So further we'll conclude that among the two projects, project X will be evaluated correct with a higher discount rate since the CE factors are relatively low. It's less certain. That's why it's more risky. Right? So we'll proceed further. Topic 7. Simulation. Topic 7 is on simulation. Again, what is meant by simulation? It's an extension of sensitivity. Sensitivity, we took one variable. We said if this variable changes, how the project will undergo a change. Simulation means entirely repeating the evaluation under different scenarios. For example, if the life of the project changes and also the cash flow changes and also the discount rate changes, what will happen to the net present value? I mean, if I end up with doing this kind of analysis, that's called as simulation. Simulation is a more extended form of sensitivity testing. Sensitivity is only one factor is tested. Simulation is many factors undergo a change, and then we figure out what will happen to the project cash flows. Simulation, we use something called as random number table. The random number tables are being used to find out what will be the probability of that happening. For example, in Excel, you should be aware that we have this rand function. Every time it throws out a different number, correct? This basically tells you that selecting a random number is not unscientific, it's scientific. Getting a random selection is a scientific method of selecting something, such that there is an equal probability for every number happening. What is the probable cash flow from this project? The cash flow can start from 0. It can be possible that I will not make any cash flow. From there, it can go up to 2 crores, 3 crores per annum. So use a random number table, and then you have to find out what are all the probable cash flows that are possible. I mean, what can happen. Pick some cash flows. For that, do the net present value analysis. This method is called as simulation. We do the simulation in 3-4 steps. For example, if I say project life is 5 years, project life is 5 years, yearly cash flows can either be 1 lakh or 1,50,000 or 2 lakhs or 2,25,000 or 4 lakhs. What is the probability of this happening? Probability of this happening is, let's say, 20%, 20%, 20%, 30%, 10%. This is the probability. When we have a probability in simulation, what we do, the next thing that we do is called as a range. For example, we calculate the cumulative probability and then we calculate the range. Cumulative probability could mean 20%, 40%, 60%, 90% and 100%. We find out the cumulative probability and then we assign a range. We say 0 to 19%, 20 to, or here we say 0 to 19% and then 20 to 39% and then 40 to 59%. Again, we keep assigning the probabilities. Range, we have the probability, we have the cumulative probability and we have the range also. Once if the range is found out, then we use random numbers. Assume that a 11% probability happens, which means you will get this cash flow. It lies between 20 to 39. Assume that a 45% probability happens, which means we are talking about this cash flow. We pick up random numbers and we check this random number falls in which range, and for this range what is the cash flow, and for that cash flow we calculate the net present value. So it is linking your cash flows to the random numbers. You have 10 random numbers in hand. How do you link cash flow? I mean your cash flows, 5 different cash flows to 10 different random numbers that you are having. For that you take your cash flow, you find out the probability of that, you find out the cumulative probability and range, and then take these 10 numbers and figure out where in this range your number sits in. And for that you take the particular cash flow and then find out the net present value. And then tell yourself that I have taken 10 different random numbers. In 10 different random numbers, 10 possible net present values are there. Then come out to the conclusion on whether it is acceptable or not. Advantage of this method is it is simple. Disadvantage of this method is it's really confusing. In the sense, you take 10 random numbers, you take 20 random numbers, you will end up with different solutions. You can't make any conclusions out of it. That's the complexity of this. Is simulation used in real life scenarios? The answer is yes. I have seen many models, financial models, where they do simulation. If inflation goes up by X percentage, oil prices falls down by Y percentage, then what will happen to the share price of my company? There are simulated models which are available. These are very patented models. I've seen a model by name CROCI, cash return on capital invested. That's a model which is patented by CRISIL. It's CRISIL's model. They have the simulation factor into it, right? Please make a note. Meaning, estimating the outcome of the project by changing the variables. Steps: ascertain the cash flows, probability, cumulative probability, range. Step 1, find out what are all the possible cash flows, what is the probability of each cash flow happening, Fix a range for it, cumulative probability and range for it. Step 2, identify random numbers. Once you have the table of cash flows and range, second step is find out random numbers. You can use random number table, or you can use the rand function in Excel. Do it 5 times, do it 10 times, get some random numbers in hand. That is step 2. Step 3, for each random number, pick the relevant cash flow and simulate the outcome. That's it. For each random number, pick the relevant cash flow and simulate the outcome. So step 1, align your cash flows. Step 2, find out random numbers. Step 3, for that random number, pick the relevant cash flow and do the NPV analysis. That's it. Merits. Guys, I'm not sure how many of you can appreciate this, but please understand, there is a problem with averaging. When I'm telling my management that either I will make 1 lakh cash flow or I will make 0 cash flow. The management is asking me what is the probability. I'm saying 50-50 probability. Either I will make 1 lakh profit or I will make 0 profit, 50-50. If you take an average out of it, 1 lakh into 50% plus 0 into 50%, and then say that on an average I'll be making 50,000 rupees, that will not happen. Either I will make 0 or I'll make 1 lakh. That's what will happen. There is no concept kind of average you will get something. Average is only an idea. You will never get an average. You will either get 1 lakh or you will get 0. That's what will happen. That's the reason why we come out of this averaging, and when we go to absolute simulation, when this probability happen, what will be your net present value? When that probability happen, what's your net present value? No? Case to case, we figure out the net present value independently, because averaging has got its own limitations, right? Merits. Easy to use, lower cost of analysis, can be model based. It's easy to use. You can make it in a format Excel. You can create a model out of it. Demerits. It's difficult to develop that model. If one's model is available, it's very easy, but developing a model, it's difficult. It depends on probability. Anything that depends on probability, it's only a chance. Can create confusion with different data. It's something like doing sampling in an audit. The more samples that you take, the more samples that you take, the more samples that you take, the more confusion it creates. Somewhere we stop and then conclude, right? Can create confusion with different data. If you take more random numbers, you'll end up with a different conclusion. We'll pick one question on this. Question 21. Question 21. Page 10. As the question reads, Lakshana Limited is evaluating installation of a fully automated processing system for its cement brick manufacturing to reduce the reliance on labor force. The setup will cost an estimated 4.2 crores and will also ensure better utilization of capacity levels and thereby meeting increased demands. What is the story? They are going to install some automation, and the cost of installation is 4.2 crores. However, due to uncertainty in expected demand for the product, the cash flows cannot be estimated with any degree of accuracy. Cash flows cannot be estimated. That's a problem. The following probabilities have been assigned in this reference. Cash flows in lakhs. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4 cash flow. Year 1 cash flow is 80, 160, 240. Probability is 0.2, 0.5, 0.3. Year 2 cash flow is 80, 160, 240, 320. Probabilities are given. Year 3, year 4. So 4 years cash flows, 4 types, and probabilities are also given. Evaluate the proposal to fully automate the process if the opportunity cost of capital is 17%. I'm stopping the question here. Evaluate the proposal to fully automate the process if opportunity cost of capital is 17%. If discount rate is 17%, would you go in for this project or not? What is the initial investment? Initial investment is 4.2 crores. What is the first year cash flow? It's 80 into 0.2, correct? 80 into 0.2 plus 160 into 0.5 plus 240 into 0.3. Someone can say, on an average, this is the cash flow I'll make in the first year. Do that for the second year. Do that for the third year. Do that for the fourth year. Discount everything to the present value at 17% and find out the net present value. That's for set. Second, also analyze the risk inherent in the situation by simulating the NPV values. Random numbers for 5 sets of cash flows are 5 times simulation to be done. Set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5. Year 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers are given. You have to do simulation on this. On the basis of the simulation, also find out the expected NPV and the probability that the NPV will be less than 0. That will pick it up later. First, we'll talk about NPV calculation, find out what is the average NPV, and then we'll do the simulation. Let's work on this. Here, calculation, cash flow, discounting factor, discounted cash flow. You guys complete this. Year 1, 80 into 0.2, 160 into 0.5, 240 into 0.3. First year you get 168 cash flow. Second year 232. Third year, fourth year 160. Right? Up to this, what we have done is calculation of net present value, and then we'll say project will be selected. Next is simulation. Guys, listen. Simulation, if you see the simulation numbers, see the table below, second table. Set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5. Set 1 numbers are 5381, correct? So 5381, these are all single digit number. The largest possible number is 9. So the total number of probabilities will be 0 to 9. 10 probabilities are there. So you have to multiply all the probability 0.2, 0.5, 0.3, everything multiplied by 10. See the random number that is available. See the highest possible number on that, plus 1, 9 plus 1, 10. The 10 order you have to multiply all the probabilities. 0.2, 0.5, 0.3 means it's 2, 5 and 3. and then you will have to find out cumulative probability, and then you will have to find out the range, right? Let's do this exercise, simulation. We say year 1 cash flow probability multiplier, or we'll say cumulative probability multiplier range. Guys, observe this carefully, just listen. Year 1 la, what are all the possible cash flows? Help me out. 80 second, 160, then 240. Just listen, no need to write, just listen. And probabilities are 0.2, 0.5, 0.3, correct? And the cumulative probabilities are 0.2, 0.7, 1, correct? Now you need to have a multiplier and then you need to have a range. These numbers will be multiplied with what? These numbers will be multiplied with 10. 10 because the random numbers given in the second table, the highest possible number is 9. Correct? Random numbers given are all single digit numbers. So the highest possible random number is 9. It can be a double digit or anything. What is given in the question is a single digit number. Highest possible number 9 plus 1 10. With 10 you have to multiply. So which is 2, 7 and 10. And so the range is 0 to 1.99, 2 to 6.99, 7 to 9.99. This is how you fix the range. See, you have a probability of 0.2, cumulative probability of 0.2, 0.71, right? So it is like 0 to 19%, correct? 20 to 69% and 70 to 100%. This is how the range is. Now the range in terms of percentage is okay. In terms of number, how do you translate? For that, we need to see the random number table that's given below. The table are all single digit number. So what is the highest single digit number in this entire set is 9, right? The 5, 3, 8, 1, so on and so forth. The maximum possible number is 9. So plus 1, 10. 10 order, you have to multiply all these things. 0 is also a probability, right? When you say highest sorry? No, I'll explain this. For example, if you say set 1, what are all the numbers given? 5, 3, 8, 1, correct? 5 falls under 160, you understand? 5 falls between the range 2 to 6.99. So when the question says set 1 has got a random number of 5, I understand it as cash flow is 160. Second set, it says 7. When it says 7, I understand it as 240. Set 3 has got a random number of 6. I understand it as 160. Set 4 on the 4, I understand it as 160. And set 5 has got 0. I understand it as 80. So, of course, 8 is given, 9 may not be given. But we need to accommodate for all the probabilities, right? This is what you will repeat for year 2, year 3 and year 4. And then you understand only the cash flows and you understand only the range. Using the set values, you will calculate the net present value in each scenario. Go ahead. Sorry? Yeah. Because we start with 0. Because we start with 0, it's a convention. Because we start with 0, we close it at 99%. If we start with 1, we can go to 100. 100% is the total, area. we'll do it. Next problem will be that. Normally random tables, for example, if it has got double digit numbers, say 10, 22, 23, there are many double digit numbers like this, then we'll understand that the maximum possible double digit number is 99. Maximum random number possible is 99 plus 100. We'll multiply all these things with 100. So we say it's 20, 70, 100 here. So here we'll say 0 to 19, 20 to 69, 70 to 99. So if you get a double digit number 23, now you'll map it somewhere here. Year 2. Guys, year 2 cash flows are? Guys, year 2 cash flows are 80, 160, 240, 320. And probabilities are 0.1, 0.2, 0.4 and 0.3. Cumulative probabilities are 0.1, 0.3, 0.7, 1, correct? And everything multiplied by 10. Your multiplier is constant 10. 1, 3, 7, 10. Right? So now the range is 0 to 0.99 and then 1 to 2.99, then 3 to 6.99, 7 to 9.99. Right? Year 3, year 4. Year 3, can you help me out with numbers? Year 3 cash flows, probabilities are 0.3, 0.4, 0.2, 0.1. And the cumulative probabilities are 0.3, 0.7, 0.91. Multipliers and range is 0 to 2.99, 3 to 6.99, 7 to 8.99, 9 to 9.99. Year 4, the probabilities are 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. Cumulative probabilities are 0.4, 0.7, 0.9 and 1. And the range is 0 to 3.99, correct? 4 to 6.99, 7 to 8.99 and 9 to 9.99, right? Once we have set the range and also the values for it, now we need to take the sets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Guys, listen for a minute. Look at set 1. Set 1 la year 1, 2, 3, 4, what are all the random numbers? 5, 3, 8, 1. That corresponds to what are all the values here? 5 means this, correct? Year 1, 5, which is 160. And then second year it is 240, correct? 3. And then third year it is 8, correct? Random number 8, which is 240, correct? And fourth year it is 1, which is 80. With these 4 possible cash flows, what is the net present value? That's what we mean. Instead of selecting the cash flows, we select the random numbers. And through random numbers, we end up with cash flow selection. This is set 1. Repeating it for set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5, we find out NPV in each case, right? Let's work on this. Here, discounting factor at What percentage discounting factor? 17%. Set 1, cash flow, discounted cash flow. Set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5. Set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5. Year 1, 2, 3, 4 and discounting factor. Set 1 வந்து 5381. 5381 means 5 corresponds to 160, 3 corresponds to 240, 8 corresponds to 240, 1 corresponds to 80. Discounted cash flow. 4.2 crores initial investment. This is the net present value. Set 2, what are all the values? It is no, 7487, right? 7487, what are all the numbers? 7 means it's 240, then 4 refers to again 240, 8 refers to 240, and 7 again refers to 240, right? Second set, what is the net present value that you get? Yeah, just give me a minute. $238.9 something. That's okay. Third set, what are all the cash flows? Third set, the cash flows are 160, 320, 160, again 160. No, 0, 80. Yeah. 6830. 160, 8, 320, 3, 160, and 0, 80. Set 4, it is 4036. The values are 160, 80, 160, 160. And the net present value is minus 39.52. See, examination scenario, please remember the time that is available for your exams is 3 hours. Simple calculation is your examination time is 180 minutes. 180 minutes, first 10 minutes and last 10 minutes, nothing will happen. First 10 minutes, you will be just reading the question paper, coming out of the chalk. All those things will take that 10 minutes time. The last 10 minutes will be for reviewing your answer sheet. So 20 minutes, if you take it off, you get 160 minutes to write your exams, and in that you need to cover for 100 marks. Which means that for 1 mark, the time that you can take is 1.6 minutes. If you go by that calculation, these kind of questions come for 6 to 8 marks. If I say it's an 8-mark question, the time that you should take is 12.5 minutes. This includes reading that question, understanding it, writing the answer, completing it. This entire story should happen within 12 minutes time. If you are taking more than 10 minutes or 12 minutes to solve this problem, please understand, in examination you are eating some other problem's time. You don't have time to write some other question. That's what it means. So please be time conscious when you are solving any problem. Set 5. Set 5, it's 0305. The values are 80, 240, 80, 160. 80, 240, 80, 160. Net present values minus 40.97, right? I want you to read out the last line of the problem. On the basis of simulation exercise, also find out the expected NPV. That's what we found out. And the probability that the NPV will be less than 0. Out of these 5 simulation exercises, we found out that in 3 cases NPV is positive, correct? 2 cases NPV is negative. 2 out of 5 cases NPV will be 0, less than 0. 40% chances. That's what we'll conclude. Based on simulation, probability that NPV will be less than 0 equal to 2 out of 5 cases. %40 chances. This completes the question, right? So we'll move on to the next question, question 22. The question 22, and I'll take you halfway through. Second simulation, I'll take you halfway through. We'll construct the random number table, and then we'll see what are all the values, and then I'll leave it there. The NPV calculation is for you, right? Please read the next question. Question 22. A project with an initial investment of 13 lakhs is under evaluation. A project's useful life and annual cash flows are highly uncertain with the following probabilities. Cash flows are 1 lakh, 1.2, 1.5 lakh, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, and 4. Probabilities are given. Useful life is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Probabilities are given. So two things are fluctuating. One is the life of the project. Another one is the cash flows every year. Both are not certain. Next, if the relevant discount rate is given by 11%, discount rate is 11%, evaluate the project using simulation in 6 runs with the following random numbers: 6,375, 8858, 0958, 7893, so on and so forth. How many numbers are there? Guys, how many numbers are there here? 12 random numbers are there, correct? It says simulating 6 runs, which means a pair forms a set. 6375, 8858, that's the first set. 0958, 7893, second set. So 6 sets of informations are given, correct? Now, there are two things which are variable in this problem. One is the cash flow, another one is the useful life, correct? Let's talk about cash flow. Cash flows are 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh, 2, 2.5, up to 4 lakhs cash flows are going. The probabilities are given. When probabilities are given, I can find out the cumulative probability, correct? Cumulative probability is 0.02, 0.05, 0.2, correct? You can find out the cumulative probability of cash flows. And then we need to find out the multiplier. What is the multiplier here? Multiplier here, all the random numbers given are 4-digit numbers, correct? Largest possible number, 9,999 plus 1, 10,000. Multiply all this cumulative probabilities by 10,000 and then fix a range. And then you can fit in these numbers to find out what cash flow are we referring to. As we solve the problem, you will understand it better, right? So we have cash flows, we have life, and we have 12 informations given, 12 set of random numbers. It says 6 runs. Normal understanding is each pair forms a set. So 6 sets of informations are available. With that, we need to figure out the NPV, right? Let's work on this. Calculation of probability range. Cash flow, probability, cumulative probability, multiplier, range. Just you might have to repeat the same story for life. Cash flows are 1, 1.5, 2 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 3.5 lakhs, 4 lakhs. Right? Fill up the probability, fill up the cumulative probability. So can you help me out with cumulative probability? 0.02, then 0.05, then 0.2, then 0.35, then 0.65, then 0.85, then 1. We need to find out a multiplier and we need to find out a range. With what we have to multiply is the question, correct? 4-digit number, largest possible 9,999, 0 to 9,999, which means 10,000 probabilities that we are thinking about. Multiply everything by 10,000. 0.02 into 10,000. You get 200, correct? Point not 5 into 10,000, 500. 0.2 into 10,000, 2,000, correct? Two thousand, then 3,500, correct? 6,500, 8,500, 10,000, correct? And now the range are 0 to 199, 200 to 499, correct? 500 to 1,999, 2,000 to 3,499, 3,500 to 6,499, 6,500 to 8,499, and 8,500 to 9,999. This is the range, right? You will have to repeat the same story for life. Probabilities are 0.05, 0.1, 0.3, 0.25, 0.15, 0.1, and 0.05. And cumulative probabilities are 0.05, 0.15, 0.45, 0.7, 0.85, 0.95, and 1. Multiplier everything with 10,000, which is 500, 1,500, 4,500, 7,000, 8,500, 9,500, and 10,000, right? And range on the 0 to 499, 500 to 1,499, 1,500 to 4,499, 4,500 to 6,999, 7,000 to 8,499, 8,500 to 9,499, and 9,500 to 9,999. Guys, can you look at the first set? First set, what are all the random numbers? 6375 and 8858, which means what cash flow, what life? 6375 na, it is here 3 lakhs cash flow, and 3 lakhs cash flow, and 8858 is 9 years. You will get 3 lakhs cash flow for 9 years. That's what it means. So present value annuity factor for what is the discount rate here? 11% 9 years multiplied by 3 lakhs. You get the present value of inflow minus initial outflow is 13 lakhs. So you'll get the NPV, right? I'll do it for one set and you can repeat it for all the other sets, right? Set 1, 6375, 8858. Cash flow 6375 is 3 lakhs. Life 8858 is 9 years. Present value of inflow equal to 3 lakhs into present value annuity factor, 11% 9 years. What is that present value factor? 5 point 5375 70 less outflow, which is 13 lakhs, net present value is 3,61,100. Can you call out for the second set? It is 958 and 7893. 958 now, what is the cash flow? 2 lakhs, and 7893, 8 years. 2 lakhs for 8 years, correct? You might have to just repeat this exercise for 6 runs. I leave the problem right here. The other possible cash flows you can work it out. Just NPV calculation, right? So we'll proceed further. Next topic, topic 8, abandonment decision. Abandonment decision. Okay, this is a, guys listen, this is a feature in a project. Abandonment decision in the sense, you can leave the project anytime. See, projects are of two types. Some projects which if you take up, you have no escape, you have to complete the project. You can't abandon in between. Some projects you can abandon, stop in between, and then you can come out of the project. For example, I have seen oil and natural gas companies, exploration. They explore oil, they try to explore oil, and they try for a lot time. And if an oil is not available in a particular basin, they will abandon that area and they will come out. Some projects can be abandoned and you can quit the project. If you take up some of the governmental projects, infrastructure construction project, I'll tell you an example. Again, same ONGC. One of my client, he is manufacturing helmets. We entered into an agreement with ONGC to supply helmets for the next 3 years. It's a tender contract which we have taken, and every month we have to supply 10,000 helmets to ONGC workers. The price of that helmet is fixed at 85 rupees per helmet based on the prevailing cost. And you know what has happened? The last 6 months or 7 months, when the dollar strengthened, the cost of raw material, the PUC, PV that we import, the cost of raw material went up. Since the cost of raw material went up, what has happened is that our cost of production has gone up to a greater extent, such that this contract has become an onerous contract. I mean, it's a loss-loss contract. If we are going to terminate the contract, we have to pay penalty to ONGC. If you are going to continue supply to ONGC for the next 3 years, month on month we will be incurring loss. We have no other option. Such kind of contracts cannot be abandoned. That's a commitment that you show in your financials, right? But some projects can be abandoned. You can quit. So please understand, if you have 2 projects, abandonment also reduces the risk of the project. When you are evaluating the NPV of both the projects, you cannot just simply go by NPV based on cash flows. Abandonment is a feature that you have to consider. And how we are going to incorporate it in our decision making, that's what we are going to talk about, right? Now, what do we say? A project which can be abandoned is less risky compared to a project which cannot be abandoned. Put the other way, if you are using the same discount rate, a project with abandonment facility will result in a higher cash flow, net present value, compared to a project that does not have an abandonment facility. Let's try to relate it like this. Let's say there are 2 projects, projects that can be abandoned, project that cannot be abandoned. If a project can be abandoned, you call it as less risky. If projects cannot be abandoned, it means it's high risk. As a continuation, we can say when a project is less risky, it means that your cash flows are more, correct? If you can abandon it, at least you can stop the loss when something wrong happens. But if you cannot abandon it, it is high risk, which means you have to incur the loss, you have no other option, which means cash flows are going to be lower relatively. If you are using the same discount rate to discount the cash flows, you will find that projects with abandonment facility will have a higher NPV, correct? Than the project that does not have an abandonment facility, whose net present value will be lower. The difference between these two net present value is called as cost of abandonment. A net present value by which facility that can be abandoned is more than the facility which cannot be abandoned, that component is called as a cost of abandonment. In the sense, you have a benefit by taking this project. This is the extra benefit that you have, and that's the feature because of abandonment, not because of cash flows. And that cash flows arises only because of the abandonment facility. That's what we are trying to say, right? Project with abandonment facility has a lower risk. Compared to project with no such facility. Project with abandonment facility has a lower risk compared to the project with no such facility. It will have relatively high cash flows. In other words, if same discount rate is used, project with abandonment facility will demand a higher NPV compared to other project. When you have abandonment, it is less risky, better cash flows, higher NPV. Worth of abandonment equal to NPV of project with abandonment facility minus NPV of project with no abandonment facility. This is technically also called as an abandonment premium. For abandonment, how much extra you are ready to pay to invest in a project. That's abandonment premium. I'll give you two examples. Guys, listen. I'll give you two examples. Check whether you can understand this. Example number one. One of my client, he wanted to start a dairy farm. A dairy farm which is as intensive as close to around 60-70 crores investment. It's in a bigger scale. It's not just a cattle rearing. It's in a bigger scale he wants to invest. But the question here now, if you are investing 60 crores in a project and then you are starting the project, you can't quit any time that you want. If you start investing in your plant and machinery, chilling plant, cattle, investing everything, buying a land, everything, it's fixed. I mean, if it is a profit or loss, you have to live with it without abandonment. I'll give you another example. One of my client into construction business, real estate, we wanted to have some investments. So we had a discussion with Aditya Birla. Aditya Birla real estate fund is there. The fund manager came and then we had a discussion. There was an investment, and in the investment, the discussion was that he is ready to invest in our company. But he wants us to confirm that after 3 years, he wants to exit the project. He doesn't want to keep the investment in my company for lifelong. He says, I will fund your project. 120 crores will fund. You start running your project. But 3 years later, I want to pull my money back. He wants to abandon the project. So we have to give an undertaking that 3 years later, we will buy back your shares and will pay you X amount of money. For that, the negotiation happens. Since you are pulling back after 3 years, I cannot give you 17% IRR. He was asking for a 17% IRR. They said that year on year, you have to pay 7. See, the structure is like this. He will invest in our preference capital. Preference capital will get matured at the end of 3 years redemption. Third year, it will get redeemed. There is a redemption premium. How redemption premium is calculated? At the rate of 17% IRR compounded. So he will invest 100 now and he will take back 100 into 1.7 into 1.17 into 1.17. That's redemption premium that he will take back. Effectively, that is his rate of return. The negotiation was, since in 3 years you are going to take your money back, we can't pay you 17%. We can pay you only 15%. So abandonment comes with it a premium. He is ready to pay that 2%. He is ready to relinquish that 2% because he believes that if he is going to stick on to this company and if loss is going to happen, he will lose his capital itself. You are ready to pay a premium as an investor, or you are ready to accept less from return, provided there is an abandonment facility involved in it. So a project with abandonment, a project without abandonment, the difference in net present value is the premium that you are ready to pay to just have that facility of abandonment. We'll pick one question on this. Question 20, page 10. Whatever discussion that we are having, guys, at a later point of time, I'll translate it into shares. Basics will remain the same. Whatever we are saying for a project, it's equally applicable for an investment share. If you are going to invest in a preference share, if you are going to invest in a bond with a redemption feature, what is the redemption premium that someone can talk about? That will get closely correlated with this abandonment that we are discussing, right? Question 20. Shweta Industrial Works is considering a project involving an outlay of 70 lakhs. 70 lakhs is the investment. The company's opportunity cost of capital in its existing business is 12%, which is capable of being expanded further. Based on risk perception associated with this project, the discount rate is determined at 15%. See, two things are given. Initial investment on the 70 lakhs. Company's cost of capital is 12%. Based on the risk of the project, the discount rate is determined at 15%. So it is only 15% that should be used to discount the cash flows, not the cost of capital, right? The following is the estimated project inflows over the next 2 years, year 1, year 2. Year 1 probability is 0.2, 0.6, 0.2, 30 lakhs, 60 lakhs, 90 lakhs. Year 2, see, if year 1, 30 lakhs cash flow is there, then year 2, it will be 0.3, 0.4, 0.3 probabilities of nil, 30 and 60, correct? If year 1 like cash flow is 60, then year 2 probabilities are 0.3, 0.4, 0.3, cash flows are 30, 60, 90, so on and so forth. What do you understand from this table? Are these dependent cash flows or independent cash flows? Dependent cash flow. Second year cash flow depends on the first year's cash flow, correct? Okay. Further, the company can undertake the project at either Rampur or Sonalpur, whose specifications and costs are all the same and are included in the above outlay of 70 lakhs. At Sonalpur, however, the company has the facility to abandon the project at the end of the first year itself and sell the site to an interested party for 45 lakhs. So now comes the next story. They can do this factory in 2 locations, Rampur, Sonalpur. In Sonalpur, if they are taking up that factory, they can abandon at the end of the first year itself. Rampur, that's not possible. You have to continue for second year, right? You can sell it at the end of first year for how much? 45 lakhs. This facility is not available if the project is undertaken at Rampur. Next, required net present value of the project at Rampur, NPV of the project at Sonalpur, considering the abandonment facility. Compute the financial effect of the facility for abandoning the project at Sonalpur, stating whether it is positive or negative. Let's work on this. We'll say the company can either start the factory at Rampur or Sonalpur. Initial investment is 70 lakhs. Year 1, the cash flow is 30 lakhs. Then year 2, Guys, year 1 there are three possible cash flows, 30, 60 and 90. If year 1 the cash flow is 30, year 2 cash flow will be 0 into 0.3, correct, plus 30 into 0.4 plus 60 into 0.3. That's going to be the average cash flow for year 2, right? So we say 0 into 0.3 plus 30 into 0.4 plus 60 into 0.3, which is 30, right? If year 1 cash flow is 60, which is the second probability, correct, then year 2 cash flow will be 30 into 0.3 plus 60 into 0.4 plus 90 into 0.3. How much you get? Sorry, 60. Third case, if year 1 cash flow is 90, then year 2 cash flow is 87. Right? So now we are just translating the question. We are saying that there are three set of cash flows. Set 1 is 30-30. Set 2 is 60-60. Set 3 is 90-87. These are all the three possible cash flows for year 1, year 2 and year 3. What is the average net present value that we'll get from Rampur, correct? NPV if invested in Rampur. Here, what is the discounting factor? 15%. Yeah. Set 1, cash flow, discounted cash flow. Set 2, set 3. The first set of cash flow is 30-30. Second set is 60-60. And third set is 90-87. Correct? At Rampur, you cannot abandon. You have to complete the project. We are saying that three possible cash flows are there. So three possible net present values are there. Correct? What is the initial investment? 70 lakhs. And what is the NPV in the first case? Minus 21 point something. Second set. What is the net present value that you get? 27.54. Third set. Yeah. Sorry, why we are not considering? I'll come to that. See, I'm not calling it as year 1 probability. I'm saying it is the probability at which you will make a 30 and 30. Correct? See, I can say that 0.2 is the probability for 30 alone. Or I can also say that 0.2 is the probability for 30 and 30 put together. Both means the same, correct? So I'm individually finding a 30 and 30, a 60 and 60, a 90 and 87, and then I'll find out NPV. With this NPV, what is the chance that I'll make minus 21.23 is my year 1's probability of 0.2, correct? Inga I'll multiply your probability of 0.2, 0.6, 0.2, whatever you're saying. And then I'll say that, just listen. What is the probability that I'll make minus 21.23 is the probability that I'll make a 30 and 30, correct? And what is the probability that I'll make a 30 and 30 is my first year's probability that I'll make 30, which is 0.2. Similarly, second NPV, I have to make 60 in the first year. If I manage to get 60 in the first year, don't worry, second year will obviously be 60 only, averaged. And so my net present value will be only 27.54. So I have to take care of only first year. And the first year 60, what is the probability? Which is 0.6. And third scenario, the probability here is 0.2. So instead of saying first year's probability is 0.2, 0.6, 0.2, I will say 3 NPV's probability is 0.2, 0.6, 0.2. And then I will say average NPV is this. This multiplied by this. Minus 21.23 into 0.2 plus 27.54 into 0.6 plus 74.05 into 0.2. Right? Please go ahead. Right? So this is what will happen if you are investing in Rampur. If you are investing in Sonalpur, what will happen? NPV if invested in Sonalpur. The difference between Rampur and Sonalpur is that in Sonalpur you have an abandonment facility, correct? Other cash flows are all the same. Can you please read the question and tell me what are all the first year cash flows? First year cash flows are the same story, correct? 30, 60 and 90, and the probabilities are 0.2, 0.6 and 0.2. Second year cash flow, what are all the second year cash flow? I think already we calculated the second year cash flow. It is how much and how much? This 30 will not happen. That's what I'm trying to say. First year, the moment you end up with 30, you'll start asking yourself, what eventually will happen in second year? Second year, only these 3 probable cash flows are there. So you will tell yourself that on an average, I'll make only 30. Instead of making this 30, you will sell that project and get 45, correct? The cost, I mean, you can sell that project at the end of first year at 45, isn't it? So instead of 30, the cash flow will change here. Sonalpur, this will be 45. Probably first year if you end up with 60, second year since you can make an average of 60, you will not sell. You will continue and get that average. First year you end up with 90, second year you will not you will not sell because you have an average of 87. You will prefer that, not sell. So the stream of cash flows as we calculated here as 30 30, 60 60, 90 87, the 90 87, 60 60 will hold true, but 30 30 will not hold true, correct? It's going to be 30 and 45. But again there is a point. When I say 30 and 30 here, it's at the end of first year, end of second year, correct? But when now I am saying 30 and 45, 45 you will not get at the end of second year, at the end of the first year itself. So it's going to be a 30 plus 45 right here, isn't it? That's how the cash flows will change when the project has got an abandonment facility. You run for 1 year, at the end of the first year you understand that you made a profit of 30, so you decided that you don't want to continue for the second year, you sell it right there and get 45 immediately. So this cash flow will be 75 here and no second year cash flows. And then we figure out what is the net present value and calculate 3 different net present values and then find out the average of this and then tell yourself what is the revised net present value. That's going to be more than this 27.09 because obviously this cash flow has increased now. Second year it's not 35. 30. Second year it's 45. In fact, it's not 45. It's much more. 45 is on the first year end terms. 30 is on the second year end terms. Right? So we'll make a note of this. If the company makes cash flow of 30 in the first year, it will abandon the facility and sell it for 45 at the end of first year itself. So the cash flows are year 1 30, year 1 end 45. If it is 60, 90, these numbers will remain the same. 60 and 87. Right? We have already calculated the NPV of this second and third one, which is 27.54 and 74.05, correct? That is 60, 60 and 90, 87. The cash flow NPV already we calculated. The first scenario we need to find out the NPV, correct? So we say NPV of first scenario. Present value of inflows is equivalent to 30 plus 45, correct? Both you will receive at the end of first year, isn't it? Multiplied by, what is the present value factor? What is that? 0.8696. $65.22 less outflows. What is the outflow? 70.